It's now 6:34. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. Commissioner Franklin is currently absent, as well as Commissioner Payne. Commissioner Adriano is attending virtually. And I will now open the meeting and take a roll call. Kalina.
Here.
Dot.
Here.
Buzz.
Here.
Marilyn.
Here.
And I'm Megan. I am here. Please note we are doing a hybrid meeting with in-person and virtual attendance. If a member of the virtual public would like to make comments during a public hearing, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and you will be assigned a speaking time. If you are listening in via telephone dial-in, press *9 to raise your hand and then press *6 to unmute yourself. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene and a record of this meeting will be posted on the local scene website as soon as they are able. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify me at this time. Okay. Kingston's Open Space Committee is still seeking a new member. The committee assists conservation in overseeing the management and use of conservation properties to help all of us better access and utilize these resources in a positive way. This is an opportunity for a resident to assist in implementing the town's open space plan, help improve parking and trails, and identify future conservation and passive recreation priorities in town, among other benefits. You may inquire by calling the Conservation Department at 781-585-0537 or by emailing Juliana Denham at jdenham@kingstonmass.gov, jdenum@kingstonma.gov. Will the agent brief us on what needs to be signed?
Yep, we have a invoice from Environmental Partners Group for MS4 support services. We have the orders of conditions for 54 Shore Drive approved at the last meeting, and we have the ratification of the enforcement orders for 44 Rabbits Road and Pilgrim John Howland Society voted on at the last meeting.
Okay. Do we want to open and discuss the standards for the unpermitted docks?
Sure. So, a while back, we ran into an issue of having a lot of unpermitted docks in town, but some of them being old, some of them being relatively new, not really having a good feel for what the commission was going to enforce or wasn't going to enforce. Enforcement is always discretionary by the commission. They can always look at each situation on its own. There's never a requirement for the commission to take enforcement action. But the idea was to have some standardization that the commission could put guidance out. So the commission asked me to look at what different towns were doing. I put a question out to other agents through MSMCP's message board and just did some research on what local towns were doing. I believe I shared all of that guidance a while back with the commission, but more recently, finally, I was able to put together my best stab at a policy that the commission could discuss and when they're ready, vote on. It did not, I ran this through town council. This does not need a public hearing notice the same way it would if we were changing the regulations. This is not a change in regulations. It's essentially just guidance for how the commission plans on going about dealing with unpermitted docks. So if any commissioner didn't get this or read this, I can read through the entire document. Otherwise, I can go through sort of the key points. I did get review from council and updated the information for the commission today. I would say most of what the changes were by council were not major in the sense that, where I might have written docks, they added docks, piers, and floats, things like that to make sure that everything is covered from a language standpoint, and also pointing out that the policy is intended to provide guidance to the commission and the public on how the commission intends to handle the issue of unpermitted docks, piers, and floats fairly. It's therefore not subject to the procedural requirements of Section 299-13 of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Additionally, the commission may rescind or amend this policy at its discretion, and the commission may, in appropriate cases, waive any of the above requirements when in its discretion the commission believes protection of the resource areas under its jurisdiction requires it. So how do you want me to go through just sort of breaking down what we have here? you want me to read through the whole thing as now written by council, or do you want me to go through just sort of the
Can I
substantive
ask a
portion of it?
question first?
Can we get a little more volume on Buzz? Is that possible?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much better.
Okay. How did we arrive at 2010 as the cutoff?
That was strictly off the top of my head and was going to be one of the, I think, the key points for commission discussion. For me, I was trying to determine what would be a good time period in terms of something being more historic, something typically around the lines where the commission would typically enforce something versus work towards compliance. One of the things that some other towns did was use the same type of statute of limitations that the building permits apparently use, which is, I believe, 10 years. So I think I just sort of split, added a little bit to that and thought that might be sufficient. We're obviously not, and I did confirm with council, not held to those same statutes of limitations as building permits. Statutes of limitations for wetlands law are a little funnier in that I think technically they're 2 years to 3 years, unless the property has changed hands. But when you do certain activities, each day is the violation. So if you are to fill a wetland, every day that fill is in place, you're violating. So you never get past the 2 or 3 years. And the same can be said about putting a structure in a resource area, that every day that structure is there unpermitted constitutes a new violation. So that was sort of the guidance that I got on that. 2010, 15 years seemed to be, I think, a pretty good number for separating what would be considered, older docks in place, not in need of immediate action on permitting unless modified. But that's up to the commission's discussion if they want to push that back to 2000 to be a nice round in this millennium number, or if they want to make it closer aligned to the 10 years of the building department. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer as long as it's fair.
If I can just interrupt, Jim is now virtual. Commissioner Franklin is attending virtually.
Can you call him out and just roll call him? Kalina? Or is Kalina running me? Yeah, sorry. I thought she was. You could keep over, just keep going if you want. Sorry, I'm not used to you running me.
Jim, you here?
Yes, Kalina, I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so can I just ask for clarification on the 2010?
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying, that anything that was built prior to January 2010, we're not going to look at unless it gets changed or edited or expanded, and anything 2010 forward, there's a opportunity for us to say, hey, that wasn't there, we need to talk about it.
Yeah, essentially, you're correct. The way this is written, anything that was in place before January 1st, 2010, or modified before 2010, so in its current condition before 2010, would not need permitting unless it was modified in the future. Anything between then and the time of issuing this would get a grace period, which I believe I wrote down in here as 2 years, during which time we would waive local filing fees. We don't have the authority to waive DEP's filing fees, but DEP's fees are, sort of a fraction of what the local ones are. So there is an opportunity for people to try to get things permitted at less cost during that 2-year period, with the commission, not looking to take enforcement action against any of these in the meantime. That does not prevent the commission from taking enforcement action in special situations during that 2-year period if they feel that it's necessary. But that would be the general way that the commission would go about it, is you'd have that 2-year period where you could permit, any dock that was in place between January 1st, 2010 and the issuance of this policy, to get it permitted a little bit cheaper and just get it legal.
I don't know, my gut tells me 10 years is far enough to go back, but that's my vote. Other than that, I understand the rest of it.
I agree with Buzz. I like 10.
2015?
Yeah, that would be, let's say, January 1st, 2015, or, I mean, you
Yeah.
could make it more, you could do the exact date, but January 1st is probably cleaner.
January 1st?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we need a vote on that, or?
I would say if the commission wants more information in general, we can continue this. If the commission feels like everything else in here is pretty okay and they're good with it, then the commission could vote on issuing this. And then what I would do is, put it on our website, and we would work to try to get this out to people that currently have unpermitted docks whenever we have the time to get around to we have some of them I think that we already know about, but there's others, that sort of a quick aerial imagery search could just identify and get letters out to people just so they know what to expect.
I just had a quick question. I know previously you had mentioned something about Great Ponds. Is that on?
Yeah,
You mentioned
that-
Great
so
Ponds.
The Great Pond stuff is administered by Chapter 91 program. So nothing that we have in here really means anything towards the need for a Chapter 91 permit. That's all administered by
Okay.
DEP's Chapter 91 Waterways program. There's a requirement for a Chapter 91 permit for any Great Pond or river, I believe coastal, most situations other than, I believe, smaller ponds, non-great ponds. But any dock, any float, anything temporary or permanent. The only situation where floats, I believe, weren't under the Chapter 91 program is where they're permitted through an annual harbor master mooring license. And I'm not sure whether there are any situations in Kingston that would fall under that.
Okay, thanks.
But they need that permit, and nothing that we do in here would waive that requirement. DEP does not frequently enforce, and I think they rely on the towns to enforce those things. I did put language in here. The way our regulations are written right now, the way our standard conditions for permits are written, if you come to us to build anything, including a dock, and we issue a permit, you need to have all other permits in place before you start construction. So when somebody permits a new dock with us, they need to go get a Chapter 91 permit or license and provide that to us before they can start work on constructing it. If you have a situation where the dock has already been built and it's unpermitted, and we're issuing orders of conditions to make that legal, I wrote in here that the commission would require evidence of the Chapter 91 permit or license before issuing a COC. Just a way of ensuring that they are going through and satisfying that program as well. And the Chapter 91 program is, I think, going to be more, they're going to show more scrutiny on Great Pond docks than the commission will. So I think it's helpful to have them reviewing these at the same time. Does the commission feel that the 2-year timeline for the grace period would be sufficient?
I think there's plenty of time, in my opinion.
Anything else the commission had questions on about this?
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the guidance document as written by and edited by council.
Second.
Okay, made by Buzz, seconded by Marilyn.
With the edit of the January 1st, 2015?
Yes.
Replacing the January 1st, 2010, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That is correct. Sorry. I'll amend my motion to the start date of January 1st, 2015 instead of January 1st, 2010.
Okay. I will do a vote. Dot?
Yes.
Jim?
I'm gonna abstain, I'm gonna miss the first part of Matt's speech.
Okay. Kalina?
Aye.
Buzz?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Motion passes.
You going to hearings now and coming back to this?
Okay. We are moving on to public hearings, 20 Marion Drive, also known as 1 Royson Drive. Request for amendment for the proposed installation of a sediment forebay and rain garden within the 200 riverfront area of Smelt Brook. I reopen a hearing for the request for amendment for the proposed installation of a sediment forebay and rain garden within the 200-foot riverfront area of Smelt Brook.
Just so it doesn't look like I...
Does the agent have any comments?
Yes. There was something we talked about before where the peer reviewer talked about not having the information or the funds to properly assess the sizing of the the stormwater feature. And the commission wanted to see that reviewed. The applicant agreed, has dropped off the necessary check. We are waiting for the stormwater calculations from the engineer. He did stop by my office, I believe, about a week ago and did indicate that he is working on it. So we're just waiting on getting that from them, and we pass that along to the peer reviewer, then they finish their review, and then we can finally talk about this in a more substantive way and get things wrapped up. So I would recommend continuing, I would say, at least another month, because I still don't have the information to pass to the peer reviewer.
Okay.
I'm just curious when the check was dropped off, because this was back in May when, and it's now mid-July.
Week or two ago?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I think, again, we've talked about it before. I don't think that there's any immediate issue that, you know, again, obviously, everybody, I think, wants to get this wrapped up, but I don't think there's an immediate issue there in terms of needing to have this immediately wrapped up. I think the stormwater issues there appear to have been taken care of in the temporary, you know, in terms of having immediate runoff-related issues. So it's more about the long-term getting this right, so when they're done with the project, they can get a COC on it, so.
Well,
I would-
but they're still looking for the amendment.
They are still looking, yeah, exactly. I think they will need, no matter what, an amendment in order to get
Right.
a COC on the project, based on what has already been provided as far as planning board requirements and, you know, potential stormwater issue long-term. So I think either way, it obviously needs to be wrapped up, but, yeah, I think in terms of not having to keep having this pop up, longer-term continuance is probably better. I would say the earliest to continue this to would be the August 23rd meeting, 27th, sorry. But September 10th is probably more likely in terms of, you know, having the information, getting the peer reviewer to process it. I don't know how long that's going to take them. I know they've already done a lot of the review on this, but they got held up on that part of it.
Right.
So we need a motion then?
So would you like a motion to continue this to September 10th? I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to continue to September 10th, made by Marilyn. All right, Dot?
Yes.
Jim?
Jim's yes.
I don't know who that was, I'll come back. Marilyn?
Yes.
Buzz?
Yes,
Kalina?
Yes.
I am a yes. Jim, did you answer?
Jim's a yes. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, you confused me. Yes, thank you. All right, that is continued to September 10th. All right, 135 Indian Pond Road. I open a hearing for the notice of intent for the proposed construction of an accessory dwelling unit, decks, a hot tub, and a septic system upgrade within the 100-foot buffer zone to inland wetland resources areas. If the applicant or representative is present, please come forward to represent your information.
Good evening. My name is Rob Carlazon. I'm from Grady Consulting. This is the plot plan for addition and septic upgrade plan for 135 Indian Pond Road. So just a little background about the property. The house is set back well off Indian Pond Road. There are 2 abandoned cranberry bogs and a wetland out in the back. The existing house is sort of wedged in between the abandoned cranberry bogs and the wetland out in the back. Wetlands were delineated back in 2013 by South River Environmental. Turn the page here. Might be able to see on the screen or on the plan. The existing house currently is very close to the abandoned cranberry bog that's shown on the left side of the plan. Might be able to zoom in to see it closer, but it's within about 16 feet. You can see on the left side, the wetlands are delineated in a blue dotted line. So basically what our client is looking to do, he has an elderly mother-in-law, is just looking to put in a proposed addition with an ADU within it. And the proposed addition is shown in that light brown color shade off to the right side of the existing dwelling. See there?
Is this, sorry to interrupt, is this easel in your way of seeing the screen? Or are you good?
I'm looking at this.
You okay?
I'm fine.
Okay, just checking. Sorry.
Okay, good. We do have some proposed decks just to attach to the existing house, well, to connect the existing house and the proposed addition. One in the front and sort of a decking system in the back. Client is also looking to build a hot tub out in the backyard just to enjoy views of the existing cranberry bog. To accommodate the proposed addition and the increase in flow, we do have a septic upgrade as part of this plan. So we are proposing another septic tank that's proposed in the front of the house. That's required by Title V and the Board of Health. Along with that, we've also proposed to increase the existing leaching field, which is shown, the existing leaching field is actually outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to wetlands, and the entire expansion is also outside the 100-foot buffer to wetland. That's pretty much the gist of that, so I don't know if you guys have any questions.
All right, thank you for that information. We'll let you know if we have any further questions. We will now hear a briefing from the conservation agent.
Sure. Just as slight clarification, right here, it does look like the existing leaching field is slightly within the 100-foot, but right about at the edge of it. And it was a little tricky that this is the dividing line right here. So the existing leaching field is below that line. The proposed addition to the leaching field is above it right here. The green outline on the screen is the 100-foot buffer to wetland resource areas. So the area of this leaching field is outside of commission jurisdiction, but everything above and below that line to the left of it is within jurisdiction. One of the more, I don't know, one of the issues I have with this, and I think in my review I should have kicked this back. Apologies to the commission. Plan is deficient in that it does not identify the FEMA flood zone as BLSF, and the wetland setback lines that you see coming off, of course they're not on the screen right now, these 30, 40, and 50-foot setbacks are not from the most landward resource area. Those all come off of that wetland upland line that's flagged right there. But under KWPR, this flood zone right here, and also I believe under WPA in this instance, these should be off of that line, as well as the minimum setbacks right here to where the septic system is. Those are not off of the most landward resource area. So typically that is something that we kick filings back for and don't accept them. I didn't catch that until review, so here we are, but that's something that is deficient on this. It doesn't appear to me that it would be something that would create an additional situation of noncompliance. I believe that these minimum setbacks would still be over 100 feet if they came off of that FEMA flood zone, but I can't really confirm that. Already you do have, sorry, before I get to that, the other issue I had from a wetlands standpoint were that there are no streams shown on this. And I know there was a wetland delineation done, but looking at the aerials, looking at older maps, and typically when you see these cranberry situations, they've, in a lot of cases, taken a stream and modified it to run in the ditches. That doesn't make them not a stream. So I don't have any concrete evidence on this. I did ask JRWA, because they have a lot of knowledge about different streams in town. They did have historic knowledge of the property and believed there probably is a portion of stream there from Trout Brook, but I don't have any confirmation of that. But that is something that I question. If there is a stream there, and I believe it would probably be around where that C series or B series wetland edge is, or somewhere in that vicinity, that would obviously change jurisdictional boundaries, setbacks, performance standards, all of those things. And if it was a perennial stream, not only under KWPR, but under WPA as well. So that is something I think that the commission should want to look into. Having said that, what's shown already doesn't meet the standards of KWPR. In several ways, there's sort of the obvious thing. Like he said, this already is a non-conforming structure in that the existing house is only 16 feet away from the wetlands, and you have septic components within the 100-foot buffer, which nowadays is not allowed under KWPR. But you have proposal to put structure within 22 feet of the wetland edge in the form of the hot tub, or 35 feet in the form of the deck, which does, it's sort of laid out in red on the plan as something that does violate the standards of KWPR. KWPR also does not allow any septic components to be within the 100-foot buffer. That includes tank, pipe connections to the house, everything, and that's come up several times under commission review. In this case, there is already a septic system in place that I imagine predated, at least the local wetland regulations. I can't really speak necessarily to whether that is legal and all Title V compliant, everything like that, but what is proposed right here with that tank being within the 100-foot buffer does not meet the standards of KWPR. So I think already this is something that the commission should have a lot of questions about, and there's no variance requests, there's no mitigation, there's really just a project that's shown right now that does not meet the standards. Let me just see if I have anything else to run through here. Impervious coverage is very small. It's a relatively big lot, and the driveway is not paved, so you have a pretty small impervious coverage even with the addition. We did have comment from the planning department and the health department related to the ADU. The planning department wanted clarification of whether this is being proposed as a by right ADU, and the health department said they could not, obviously fully review the septic plan here because they don't have anything filed in front of them other than what we've sent in, but they had questions about, again, the square footage of the addition being supposedly above what the maximum standard is for the by right ADU things. So that I think is outside of the commission's purview, but it should be pointed out that this may be something that also needs, I believe, a special permit. It would not be a by right situation. From the commission's standpoint, you have an existing septic system, but anytime there's a substantial enlargement, regulations still apply as though it was a new septic system. So I think for right now, unless that can be moved outside of the 100-foot completely, this is something that doesn't meet the standards of KWPR. And if there is a stream there, that could substantially change things and change whether there is the room there to get everything out of jurisdictional areas. See if there's anything else. There's notes about an owner's opinion that the abandoned cranberry bog may be upland. Again, that's not really substantial for this filing. It was delineated as a wetland. In these situations, when somebody believes it is upland, there is a process to try to get that documented. And then sometimes that ends up going up to DEP for review as well. But for this filing, it is a wetland, so we are going forward with what's shown on the plan. I wrote that the proposed project is located within an Aquifer Protection Zone 2 water resource area. The project narrative said that it is not. That's just based on what I have for the town's zone mapping. Go through. I can read through any of the septic regulations in KWPR if the commission would like to. But essentially what we have is hot tub 22.7 feet away violates KWPR 10.08B. The deck steps are located 30 to 35 feet away from the bog. That also violates 10.08B. Septic regulations 10.02A is the presumptions of significance on why the commission cares about septic systems being in jurisdiction for the contamination and nutrient loading factor. And performance standards under 10.02B say that no portion of the system can be within 100 feet of any area subject to protection under KWPR. Based on the plans and narrative shown, this proposal would constitute a substantial enlargement and increase in flow if it is not considered a new system in its own. It does share some of the existing plumbing, so it likely would be a substantial enlargement and increase in flow. So yeah, sorry I went about this in a really roundabout way, but narrative discusses standards and proposed work, but does not fully indicate compliance, and where obvious compliance issues exist, does not explain how they could meet the performance standards. For instance, under purpose, which is 1.02C, surface water, it says there are no surface waters within the vicinity of the proposed construction, even though the wetland summary form says pond for the C-series wetland. This narrative falls short of detailing compliance with the relevant regulations and performance standards. The commission may deny the project for failure to meet the standards of KWPR or continue the hearing, allowing the applicant to make edits. It should be noted that the project appears to meet the standards of 310 CMR 10, the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, so the project would ideally be approved under the WPA and denied under KWPR if the commission should choose to deny the project. However, I don't believe that if there's a stream there. So that's a big caveat there that really in this situation, if the commission were voting on it today, they would likely deny under both. And under the WPA, it would be for lack of information, I believe, because it is, I believe, likely that there is a stream there. So that would be up to the commission how they would want to handle the potential that if there is no stream there, this may pass the WPA standards and not the local. I'll stop talking.
Okay. All right, we will now open the hearing to public comment. Please, you are welcome to share any relevant concerns or information you believe should be taken into consideration. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak to this? Is there anyone online? Matt?
Can't see. Let me stop sharing. I do not see anything.
Okay. Seeing none, we will now move to commissioner discussion. The applicant is asked to remain at the podium. Commissioners may have follow-up questions, which you are welcome to answer. Please keep in mind that this is not an open forum, a debate. The commission's role is to deliberate on your request within the framework of local and state regulations. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add, say?
Megan, if I may,
Yes, you may.
I apologize. I'm in an airport, so it might be tough to hear, but let me know and I'll stop if that's the case. There's a couple of things that I think we need to discuss here. One, if we have improper plans, we should be continuing automatically so that we're only adjudicating on accurate information. That should be the first and foremost thing that we do. I say it every time something like this comes forward. Two, with the wetland lines that are delineated, apparent site space that, some of these things could be shipped out. The fact that they haven't moved some of these things once they drew those lines to come into, compliance with what, the regulations state, should be a concern for us. And three, is there a stream? Is there not a stream? I think if we don't prove that there isn't a stream, then at least we have to take, that into consideration as it's probably there until we know otherwise. So we should be, treating everything as such until they, are able to, go through and prove that there isn't, because I think the anecdotal evidence and the locals say that there is one. So that's the wetland side of it. From the we've had some of these filings where we had the septics and the Title V's, and people say Title V compliant. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that statement, whether or not you're Title V compliant or not, and it boils down to, okay, there's flow rates, there's calculations. Is it big enough? Okay, well, you can expand it. You need more linear feet of leaching field. But the truth is that if you read the regulations, there's a lot of pages in that, and it boils down to the fact that if you have your system within the 100-foot buffer zone, you are not in compliance with Title V, so the rest of it doesn't matter. And where that comes into this is that this is an expansion. Per the plans, it says 5-bedroom house, and then it's talking about 5 bedrooms getting added to it, so that's a potential, or on paper, that's a significant increase over the size of flow that's there that might be grandfathered in. Okay, so from that perspective, you can't just increase the leaching field size, keep everything else. You have to come into compliance if you're going to say that you're going to be in compliance with Title V. In the Title V statute, there's a pathway for that, but like we've used on, I think, Rabbit Road previously, where you have to, pursue alternative technologies, and I don't see anything in this. So, as it stands right now, I think this is one that needs to be, denied because it doesn't, in my personal, one-person view, it didn't even come close to trying to get us to a point where we could approve it. So, I'm open to, a continuance, and I'm also very open to just saying this doesn't even come close. Let's deny it. That's my 2 cents.
Anyone else?
If the addition is an ADU and it's larger than allowed, that's another reason for us not doing more tonight, but continuing, because that has to be settled.
So I can comment on that. So while the actual proposed footprint is more than the allowed ADU square footage of 900, which is the maximum, only a portion of the addition will be considered the ADU. The rest of the addition will be connected to the main existing house. So just to clarify what's going on inside the house.
That has to be made clear.
Yep.
On the drawing.
Okay.
I just think common sense as we continue to give you a chance.
Your mic's off.
Your mic is off again.
I think we should continue it and give you a chance to take another whack at it.
Okay. I also do have another comment, just as far as Title V compliance. The existing system, as is a Title V compliant septic system, even though the tank is within the 100-foot buffer zone. Under Title V, which is the state regulation, you can put tanks as close as 25 feet to a wetland and still maintain compliance. It may not meet local conservation regulation, but I just want to clarify that on a state level. As proposed, this plan does meet Title V, and it does comply with Title V setback regulations. Again, it may not meet local conservation regulation, but I just want to clarify that on that front.
May I add something?
Sure can.
Sorry, I keep looking at Colleen, it's reflex. When the health agent was looking at this, and again, this may be outside of commission purview, but something that the applicant should hear, she pointed out something along the lines of that, making a modification like this on the property would require review of the septic system to see if it still meets Title V. So I believe she commented that she has no evidence in front of her that the existing system is Title V compliant, and that may need to be a part of this process, not necessarily in front of the Conservation Commission, but the process of getting this type of a project permitted in general. So I would recommend more than the usual 2-week continuance on this, because I believe 1 week turnaround time on this is likely insufficient. In addition to that, I will be out of the office between July 30th and August 8th, and given that Town Hall is now on a 4-day work week, that means I will not be back in the office until August 11th, 2 days before our next meeting. Conservation office will be open for half days during that time period, typically 8 to 12, but our capacity for preparing this stuff and having the week for the commission to dissolve, to assess information will be limited. So I think, given how much work this likely needs and those limitations, that I would recommend at least a month for continuance on this. I don't know if you want to check with the representative to see if they have an idea of when they could have this stuff together. I think that the commission should be asking for information about whether there's a stream on site, and then if we get that information, we may be able to assess that as staff on a more involved site visit, or if the commission determined that that was not the route to go, put something like that under peer review. But I think that should be part of this, that whether or not there is a stream there has a real implication on not only KWPR standards, but what the jurisdiction is and the regulations are under WPA.
Am I allowed to make a motion since I'm chair?
I just had a question before you make a motion.
You can, I just always indicate that it's better not to, and then Jim and I always kind of argue back and forth on it.
Okay, I guess I'm Jim today.
Would it be prudent to set up a potential site walk for the commission, especially in regards to the stream issue?
I would rather the commission have more information about whether there's a
Right.
stream there or not, similar to on recent filings where, you ask the applicant to come up with the information. We have a wetland report, but I thought the wetland report was a little lacking in that sense. So I didn't feel that we could assess that during a quick, department site visit. So I don't think that there would be a ton of merit in the commission going to see the site before we have that information in front of us. We could try to do a little digging through the aerials and indicate exactly what locations are more likely, but I would rather that the applicant do that legwork for you, and then have something that you can directly be going to look at. So.
So am I allowed to make a motion?
I think I already
Well, I can
answered.
make-
No, the chair should really not make any motions, so
See what Buzz said.
make a motion to extend the hearing for 1 month.
I'd like to just bring something to order, if I may, just on that discussion. Buzz, not to cut you off, but it is a point of order.
Sure.
The rules state that the chair may make a motion. Whatever Matt thinks on this one, you're totally allowed. When you get into like a town meetings type situation where you have 100 people, then it's frowned upon for a town, whatever they call them, town moderator to make such motions under Robert's rules. But in this case, where we have a board with only 7 people, it would be disingenuous to have a commissioner not have the right to make a motion if they feel that there's something that needs to be done. So that's the technical rule. Doesn't matter what we feel differently upon. It's you have the right to. It's some people just go on cooch. So
And I would like to point out, I have seen plenty of other boards and commissions chairs make motions, and it's never an issue.
Correct.
I've
Yeah, it's
never,
completely okay.
I've never said that it's not legal. It's generally frowned upon, and there's typically not much reason for the chair to make motions. You don't necessarily
I
have
got
to.
reasons, though. I have feelings. and-
Sure, Ed, I mean, you're more than welcome to discuss you can make a motion.
Right.
There's nobody that's gonna tell you that you can't do it. It's just, if there's any gray area at all, why? You know?
Well, it's
Jim
not
feels
gray.
very
It's-
strongly that there is no gray
I
area
think it's
there,
in black
but
and white. I agree with Jim that I am allowed.
Well, then make the motion.
All right,
Make
well,
the-
I make a motion to deny this on the bearings that where it needs to know if there's a stream. We need the proper boundaries, setbacks, and there was another one, but now I'm all confused.
yeah, there was the failure to meet.
Failure to meet
Three
guidelines. There's
different
also,
standards of
there's no
KWPR.
mitigation, there's no variance request submitted. This is an incomplete NOI, and agreeing with what Jim said in the beginning, that this shouldn't have been in front of us until it's complete, and that's my motion. I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 of 6, so my motion is that it's denied. They can gather all the information we've asked, come back, instead of continuing it.
I second.
All right, well, we will take a vote made by myself, seconded by Kalina, to deny this NOI.
Do you want discussion on that, or just straight to a
Oh, we can
vote?
discuss,
Wait.
yes. Discussion with the board, or
Well, you gotta-
discussion with the applicant? With the board?
I was talking
No.
about the board. You can
Okay.
hear from the applicant if you would like.
No, discussion on a motion that's been seconded can only be the board, and it has to be specific for the motion.
Correct. So does anyone on the board have anything to say? We're good?
So just to clarify, if a yes vote is made is to deny, if a no vote defeats your a no vote defeats your motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I will now do a roll call vote on my motion to deny. Marilyn?
No?
Dot?
Yes.
Buzz?
No,
Jim?
Yes?
Kalina?
Yes.
And Megan is a yes, so this motion has passed. This is denied.
So, do we stick with the date we have? Are we,
There's no
coming back
date.
in a month?
No, they will
Do
come
we-
back when,
Wait, okay,
Yep.
come back when they're ready.
yep.
Procedural question, did you close the hearing?
I can close it right now.
Okay.
All right, I will take a motion to close the hearing, right? Marilyn?
Yes.
Dot?
Yes.
Buzz?
this hearing, yes.
Yes. Jim?
Yes?
Kalina?
This hearing, yes.
I am a yes to close this hearing, 135 Indian Pond Road.
I guess
Thank you.
I'm a little confused, so this was denied? I thought we were gonna ask for a continuance.
No,
to
I made a
provide-
motion to deny it because of the lack of information that was submitted.
You're welcome to come back.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So now we go back to enforcement.
Action items, we had Ring Road Solar.
Oh. I will now reopen a public meeting to discuss the request for amendment or deviation for 126 and 131 to 137 Ring Road submitted by Beals and Thomas on behalf of Ring Road Solar LLC, file number SE 037, 0889, and 0890. The applicant did not provide updated materials by the submission deadline, therefore this meeting should be continued to August 13th. do I hear a motion? Do we need to do a
Oh,
motion?
before we get to that, so how many continuance, so we just denied the last guy, why aren't we just denying this one?
I think, may I?
You may.
All right. I think because situationally, I think it may be in, I don't want to say everyone's best interest, but it may be beneficial for, you know, the commission and the applicant on this, not to work together, but to continue the dialogue on how they can meet all of the standards they need to meet on this. I think if the commission just decides to deny it outright, more than likely what we then see is work start on the project under a claim of agricultural exemption, and then the commission needs to decide if they want me to take enforcement action and immediately move towards some sort of a legal standoff on this, rather than trying to talk through with them how they can get this project into compliance and start generating electricity and go from there. That's just my opinion. The commission's always welcome to do whatever they want. I just think that the way things were left, they think that they have agricultural exemptions. The commission had rightfully questions about that, and they should be coming back with more information on that. If the commission wants me to send something saying that this is absolutely going to be discussed at a meeting on this particular date, you know, we can do that, and hopefully they will, you know, come to the table to discuss further. But if you do want to deny the request, then I'm certainly happy to send that out as well.
I'm open to giving them a month and then letting them know that we'll be discussing. Anyone else?
What was the date for continuance?
A month out.
Is
would
August
be-
27th.
Thank you. August 27th.
Yeah, I could be okay with that.
All right. Do I hear a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion to continue to August 27th.
I'll second.
All right, we will take a vote. Carolyn?
Yes,
Dot?
Yes?
Jim?
Jim Pierce.
Buzz?
Yes,
Kalina?
Yes.
And Megan is a yes. All right, the motion passes. Now we move to enforcements. We will start with 176 Main Street.
Yeah, let me just pull this up. Ready for me?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, get my notes here. So, this is on the corner of Main Street and Brook Street. You have an existing driveway area close to the freshwater marsh that associates with the Jones River. On July 7th, while driving by, I noticed vegetation between the driveway and the marsh had been cleared and grass seed had been put down, and it was likely that loam was probably brought in because it typically would be in those situations. I also had a commissioner notice and report it to me a few days later. The whole property is in the 100-foot buffer zone to resource areas. The portion in question, or the majority of it, is also likely in the outer 200-foot riverfront area to the Jones River. We sent a notice of violation out. The landowner responded and wants to make it right. We fit in a site visit today, and I got photos, and also was contacted by an environmental consulting firm who went out yesterday and put erosion control in place, and is starting to prepare a restoration plan. So when I got to the site today, here you're at the driveway looking sort of upstream of the Jones River is off to the left, and then you have the marsh much closer to the driveway. The purple you see there is purple loosestrife, which grows in wetlands. And you see the erosion control that was put in place. You see one of the new lawn areas in the back there up against, I believe, a garage or barn. Backing up a little bit, this is taken from, I believe, the sidewalk. This is one of the areas. This area did have some existing yard area at the edge of the driveway. I believe maybe some of the stuff that was on the right-hand side of this picture was existing yard space, and much of what's on the left was vegetated with shrubs. I don't know if there were any trees cleared there, but it probably was more like sort of brambles. And then,
I think there was a large tree cleared.
yeah, maybe the applicant can speak to that in a minute. We do have Adam Dennison, he is online, and I did meet him today. This is another view from the sidewalk showing that edge. We do have erosion control now at the bottom edge there. But I did notice on site today what is a large cut of erosion through that area that was modified. The roughly July 4th storm that came through that dumped a lot of water in one night did a number there with water running off of Main Street. So they will have sediment removal to do. As you can see in the back part of that picture, they have erosion control behind it now. It's some substantial mulch sock, so that should hold it going forward, but they can start to take steps to stabilize that and work on a restoration plan for the area. The homeowner also indicated that they're working on a plan for an addition and understands the need to file for that. And I spoke with the wetland consultant, and he was asking similarly, what would the commission be looking for a restoration? Would they be wanting to do it under an NOI? And I said, no, typically the commission does those under enforcement orders. So typically the commission would issue an enforcement order mandating that they see a restoration plan by a set date, and then discuss the restoration plan. When it's sufficient, issue a second enforcement order mandating that the work happen by a set date. So homeowners here, if you have any questions, or I can try to answer any questions you have as well.
Megan, may I?
Sure.
All right, Matt, could you explain that? I mean, this looks like, I mean, there's a lot of water. Where's this water coming from? Is this runoff from the street, or, I mean,
Yes,
what's causing
it appears
the flow?
to be runoff coming off of Main Street. There is a little bit of a berm to the driveway, but I think when you have, I don't know how many inches of rain we got that night, but when you have a huge amount of rain in a short period of time, I believe there was a lot of water running down Main Street that ended up on the property. You also have DOT that was doing work on the sidewalks, and it appears that they did not do a fantastic job of protecting their work site towards getting sediment downstream, down gradient towards the river. I know.
Is there a storm sewer here, Matt? Like,
Yes.
they haven't plugged up because
No.
of the
So
work, or-
the homeowner said that the storm grate in front of the house was clogged up, but there was no filter fabric in it. And when we looked at it today, it appeared that it had been cleaned. But at the time of the storm, he believes it was filled up, and that they, likely DOT, had some sort of a crew out on the road scraping, shoveling up sediment after that storm, because a significant amount of it moved. So in terms of what you're seeing there for sediment, I don't know if a portion of that came off of the road or if all of that came from the pretty massive cut that you see there right off the driveway. But he is
Matt?
aware of it. They are working on it.
All right, so my only concern is that whatever we do here, and I'm not saying it's one person's fault, I'm saying that if there was this much water coming off the street, then this is something that's gonna have to grow a little bit of wings and get into the town side of it, and then have them talk about it, because no matter what we put in here, or what the owner puts in here under our blessing, this type of runoff will wash all of it out. So let's just keep that in mind as we go, but that's all I have to say.
Does anyone else on the commission have anything to say, or do you want to hear from the homeowner?
I'm very pleased, surprised, but very pleased at the quickness of their response.
I am as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised by the scofflaw approach to doing it in the first instance with no notice, no permission, but
You said Dennison? Is there? I can't. read the names off the screen.
Yeah, his name is Adam. He's on Zoom.
Adam Dennison.
Yep.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here with my wife, but she let me know that the day after the storm, I was traveling for work, but I don't know if it was the DOT or the construction crew that's redoing the curbing up the hill was just in front of the driveway, shoveling out the street for, the morning, couple hours. So it was a big storm. And, I think that it was a, kind of a unique event, but, it's definitely going to rain again. And the catch basin, that catch basin was just cleaned by the DOT. Was it this week? Last week? Yeah, something, either this week or last week. And what happens is the surface area of our driveway doesn't help, but with that catch basin clogged with sediment, that portion of Main Street gets a ton of water in it, standing water, and then people drive, there's obviously a lot of traffic by the house, and it splashes up even over the little berm, and, it just is like it's kind of not a river, but it's pretty close to that. So that's kind of what you're seeing here. And, whatever we need to do to make it right, we'll fix it. And I've got Riverhawk involved, and so yeah, that's my 2 cents.
What was cleared from there? Was there a tree cleared, or is it just like brambles and bushes and?
There was a lot of poison ivy and dead trees and a couple, like one tree that was like right next to my driveway that was kind of dying and all vine covered and stuff like that. So I cut that down, and then I got rid of some knotweed that was that's already coming back, to be honest, but that was kind of it. It was just, and then I spread some loam over it and put some grass seed down. So not my intention to do anything that I wasn't supposed to do. Just trying to clean the place up a little bit,
Right.
avoid the kids getting ticks and stuff like that when they go in there for the ball. And that's really it. So like I said, I'll do whatever you guys need me to do to fix it. So.
I think they'll put together a restoration plan. It will come back for commission review. If the commission feels it's insufficient, they can say it's insufficient, and there'll be some back and forth on that if necessary. And we should be able to get that area fixed up, providing a buffer to the marsh and the river. And, I think Riverhawk will understand the need for some pretty substantial erosion control to prevent water from continuing to cut through there as things are establishing. I spoke with Riverhawk and asked how much time they thought they needed to get a restoration plan together, and they didn't think it was going to take terribly long. They're already working on it. My recommendation would be to require that they submit it to the Conservation Department within a month, and then put it on, either August 27th, probably August 27th. You could do August 27th or September 10th, but having the discussion on August 27th allows more time for fall planting and not running into a situation where all of a sudden it's too cold to get any seed established or any of that stuff. So I think if you say, you want to have them get it to my office by August 23rd, that gives a few days to, of course I said August 23rd, that's probably a weekend. Should double check that. But with just a few days for me to be able to review it before the August 27th meeting, continuing this discussion to August 27th in order to have the discussion. If you do not receive a restoration plan by August 23rd, the enforcement order would be saying that you'd be issuing fines of $300 a day until you receive one. But I don't expect that you would need to go that route.
Nope. I'm happy to do what you guys need me to do.
So that would be August, let's say as long as we have it by August 25th, because that's a Monday and we're now closed on Fridays. So August 25th would give me 2 days to give it an eyeball before the commission meeting. I don't think we need a full week on an enforcement action like this, so.
Does anyone want to make that motion?
So you want a motion to continue this to August 27th?
And issue an enforcement order for a restoration plan by August 25th.
Right.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Made by Marilyn, seconded by Kalina. All right, Marilyn,
Yes.
Dot,
Yes,
Jim,
Yes.
Buzz? Buzz?
Did he leave us?
Let me see if we still
Kalina?
have Buzz.
Wayne is a yes.
All right, Megan is a yes. We seem to have lost Commissioner
Yeah.
Adiano. Okay, all right, that would be continued till August 27th. We will now move on to our second enforcement, which is 39 Winthrop Street. I will say that this is, they're diagonal from me. We do not technically butt each other, but we live on the same street diagonal from each other. So if the commission wants me to step away, I can step away. If the homeowner wants me to step away, I can step away. But I thought I would bring it to everybody's attention.
All right.
Megan, may I?
You may.
All right, I also have to recuse myself. I'm a direct abutter on this property.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. So in this situation, we had a report of unpermitted work in the backyard. A drive-by showed a new structure next to an existing shed in the backyard. I had no evidence of the shed permitting, but it does show up as early as 2005 and potentially even earlier. It's hard to be sure. There also used to be an above-ground pool in the backyard that shows up in imagery as recent as 2008. The frame of that is still visible, and I believe this is a relatively new homeowner to the property related to those two structures. I didn't double-check the exact date, but so anyways, what we have is a chicken coop that was built next to the shed. Not the biggest deal in terms of enforcement, but more an opportunity to, provide knowledge, attain compliance going forward. We've had some other issues with agricultural situations, whether it's chickens, goats, whatever, with sort of unfettered access to wetlands and wetland buffers, which can cause some contamination issues or some water quality issues, habitat quality issues. So this, I believe, is an opportunity to, again, set the tone going forward for what's allowed, what's not allowed. I did send out an NOV and got an immediate response from the property owner, who is on Zoom tonight. Eager to do the right thing, has already engaged a wetland scientist, is already talking about filing an RDA, sort of to see what's allowable in that area, and so that they can make use of their property while making sure they take care of the wetlands and wetland buffers. Yeah, so that's about it. That's a picture of, I believe, the front. These pictures were sent by the homeowner. I have not done a site visit in this situation. Looking towards the backyard, there's the existing shed right behind the tree and the new chicken coop behind that. And then that's a view looking off to the side. This is the shed, or I'm sorry, the chicken coop that was recently built. So again, not a massive enforcement issue in need of tearing down or restoration or anything like that. More than likely, this was a part of the yard already in terms of being grass and, something that's been used for years, just in need of permitting. So they're working on it.
I will say, before the chickens, there were goats housed in that shed.
Okay. Yeah, it does, I think, look in this picture like there is a pen off of the shed. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. The town did come up with agricultural, non-commercial, I forget exactly what they called it, non-commercial livestock regulations. So the town does have now regulations and guidance on best practices for keeping farm animals in a non-commercial setting. We did weigh in on those, but essentially what it says in there is that they also need to comply with the wetland regulations. So essentially, in order to keep livestock in an area and jurisdiction, you would need some form of permitting for that, especially when it involves structures or it typically involves degradation. So even in a situation where there's no structures, you may have goats or other animals kind of destroying buffer zone and or wetland habitat, which in itself is a violation. So it's just better to have everything permitted, have the commission able to review these things and sort of define where your animals can access, where they can't. You're putting essentially a fence up to keep them out of certain areas. It's an opportunity to do things such as conservation posts on a fence, conservation placards on a fence, things like that. So I don't know necessarily if that's needed or not in this area, but they are working on a filing. So it's up to the commission how you want to handle something like that. I don't like to let things linger in terms of the commission saying, okay, you're filing, that's great, see you later, because that's when we run into issues of non-compliance down the road and less ability to enforce. So I think it's great. They already have a wetland scientist. They're already working on a filing. They're already in touch with my office on that. But you probably still want to set a deadline.
So just a matter of a deadline.
Yeah. You can kind of, also just to kind of add to that, it's my belief that in relatively simple situations like this, you do have the ability to save me time of office work and not issue an enforcement order. You, I believe, do have the situation where we can communicate to the applicant that you have until such date to provide a filing or else an enforcement order will be issued. We've done that before where essentially we're saying you have 30 days to file with the commission for the unpermitted work. If you don't do that by that date, we will issue an enforcement order mandating that it happens within a set date. And if that doesn't happen, fines every day until you submit that. So that, in my opinion, that would be the better route because it saves me the time of having to write and issue an enforcement order for a situation where they may just file anyways.
It's also consistent with what you were discussing previously.
And so 30 days is typical?
Yeah, I think for something like this, I think they're looking at admin review or RDA, depending on what they're looking to do. So I think either way, that's a pretty easy thing to submit.
But in each case, they've offered positive
Right.
solutions.
Yes.
I will take a motion if somebody wants to take a motion, or is there any more discussion? Does the homeowner want to speak?
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to virtually meet everyone. So I'm here with my husband. Sorry if you can hear our children. We have littles. But we did start filing for a permit. We just were unclear of like what we should add on it, how we should write it, and we didn't know if we would have some clarity here in this meeting, but we can work with Matt on that. We haven't pressed send, but we started the paperwork. We had a wetland consultant work with us to kind of take a look at the land itself, flag down what the parameters are to try to figure out what the best location is. He also said that it was probably in our benefit that the coop isn't touching the ground. It's deep, and so that we do plan on having the chickens enclosed so they won't, run out into the wetland or anything like that. I mean, obviously, there's also tons of predators, so why wouldn't you want to do that? But yes, we've already filled out some of the forms, and I guess we can work with Matt and send it to the commission.
And we appreciate the notice because we were considering doing other things, we really didn't know.
No idea.
We knew the wetlands were back there, we really didn't know about the buffer zone. You know, now moving forward with anything, it would be through you guys. Now we
Yeah.
know.
Thank you so much for being very responsive and positively responsive. We appreciate it.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Right,
Do you want to say, what did we say for a date on 176? We said August 25th for the restoration plan on that one. Why don't you say August 25th for a filing to be received by my department, my office. If we do not see a filing, I would issue an enforcement order mandating filing within 2 weeks, or fines would be issued daily until we did. And I think that should be plenty.
does anyone want to make that?
Wait for a motion.
Yeah, I just need a motion.
And I make a motion to issue using Matt's exact language.
One second.
Second.
All right. Do we need to vote on, we'll vote on that.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I just forgot your name. Marilyn.
Yes.
Dot.
Yes.
Jim?
Oh, did we lose him?
No.
Tim's abstained.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Kalina?
Yes.
Megan is a yes. All right, that is continued a month. Did you understand what Matt said about the filing for a month?
Yeah, our understanding is that we have to file within this 30 days.
Yep.
No,
August 25th.
before August 25th.
Yep.
Correct.
Yes,
All right, thank you so much.
thank you.
Good night.
All right, I will now move on to enforcement for 164 Pembroke Street.
I have to recuse myself?
You got it.
Megan, may
Yep.
I? Megan, I have to leave. I gotta catch a flight.
All right, safe travels. I'll let the record
Bye.
show that Commissioner Franklin is leaving.
We do run into a
Do we have a quorum anymore?
quorum issue then.
Yeah.
We only have 3 with Buzz dropping off.
Should have done you first.
Do you want me to call Buzz and see if he can jump back on?
Could you do that? Could you try
Try.
that? That'd be great. Just for this one thing.
While you're doing that, can I give a handout to everyone?
No.
No.
We don't want to open until we're sure we can move forward.
Hey, we ran out of quorum for the last enforcement issue. Are you capable of jumping on? It might take me a minute, but yeah. All right. Okay, thank you. I have to text him the link, which is going to take me a second to look up.
Okay. Oh, can we do minutes?
Yeah, why don't we do this?
So you'll come back?
I don't know if you can vote on, oh, yeah, I guess
Can
you
with
can take her
Marilyn,
back
yeah.
to
All right,
vote on minutes.
we'll do, let's approve the April 9th, 2025 minutes. Let me just make sure we were all there.
I make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Second.
All right, let me just make sure we're all here. All right, we were. Let's vote to, well, we'll do a roll call. Marilyn?
Yes.
Dot?
Yes,
Kalina?
Yep.
And Megan is a yes. So the meeting minutes are approved for April 9th, 2025.
All right, I'm back.
All right, thank you so much,
There
Buzz.
he is.
All right, we will open our enforcement for 164 Pembroke Street, and Marilyn will,
So I'll recuse myself again.
again, yes, thank you. You want to start?
Sure.
All right.
So obviously, this is a continued discussion that started with the application on the front lawn area upslope of the vernal pool. I have had discussions with the landowner about that. He does not believe that application of fertilizer in that front lawn area could produce detrimental effects in the downslope vernal pool. I disagree with that based on my knowledge of the site and hydrology and whatnot. I think there's, in my opinion, two issues here that the commission should be looking at. One of them is you have an instance of known contaminants and herbicides being applied there in the form of a high nitrogen chemical fertilizer and an additive that is an herbicide that is known highly toxic to aquatic life, being broadcast spread right at the top of that slope that goes down to the vernal pool. That would be a violation. That is something the commission should discuss how to deal with. In my opinion on that, that is a situation where, anything more than the standard one-time $300 fine would be probably pretty hard to justify. We've had other discussions about, with the landowner about applications there in the past, but that was sort of a different, I don't want to say chemical, a different substance. And that gets to the second part of this, is I think it's important for the commission and for the landowner to have a clear understanding going forward of what is allowed there, what is not. There's perpetual condition on the property that says no herbicides, no contaminants. What constitutes a contaminant, right? And I think that's something that the commission can discuss with the landowner. I think, given the first part of what I was talking about, sort of the disagreement about whether application of fertilizers on that lawn would constitute a, ongoing violation situation there, I think a site visit should be informative to the commission and to the landowner. One of the other things that he's brought up is runoff from Pembroke Street getting into that vernal pool, and that being a main driver of water quality issues there. I've seen no evidence of that. And I think that the commission seeing those things, seeing the position of the lawn and the downslope plantings, just the condition of that site, will give you an impression of, going forward, can there be applications on that lawn of organic fertilizer, of lower nitrogen fertilizer, without it being considered a contaminant? And also seeing whether or not there is likely runoff off of Pembroke Street that could be contributing to what we see over the summertime there as being what I would indicate as likely eutrophic conditions, where you have a lot of algae and aquatic vegetation blooming in that water. We have photos of that pool that appear to indicate nutrient loading coming down off of that hill. I don't think we have anything that's super definitive that I would hang my hat on as a wetland scientist and say we have a smoking gun here that absolutely we know that is happening, but it indicates it. And I think that it's worth the commission being on site and seeing that for themselves, and just, again, to have a clear understanding going forward, what's considered contamination, what is not, so that the property owner can enjoy his property and go about his life and stay out of your way and we stay out of their way, and everybody's happy going forwards. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. So that's my open to that. If anybody has any questions at any point, I can add more detail about anything you'd like, from the scientific side of that to the regulation side of that. But for now, I think we can hear from Representative.
May I ask first?
Sure.
We had asked a month or so back for a contract between them and the landscapers. Did
Yes.
we ever receive that?
There is no contract. According to the company owner, they just were asked, and he may be able to provide some more feedback on that, but essentially they were just asked to take care of the lawn. So I tried to sort of get a little more information out, like, you mean you just don't have contracts? And essentially that's what it was there is no contract. It was from my understanding, like a verbal, hey, come treat my lawn, and they say, okay. They did provide what is their routine on the property, which is early in the season to put what was put down the day that I saw the application, which is that dimension high nitrogen chemical fertilizer with built-in crabgrass preventer. And they use a spot spray herbicide for broadleaf weeds, which in my opinion is not as concerning from a wetlands protection standpoint. It still violates the conditions, the perpetual conditions on that property, but from a practical standpoint, the stuff being in the granular form almost surely finds the lowest point and gets into that water. And that is something that, I mean, the label on that product says should not be applied near open water because it's so toxic to aquatic organisms. You know, the person applying that close to open water could lose their applicator's license for that. There may be some gray area for MDAR who oversees those sort of things to determine what close means. You know, close to them might mean your wheels are touching open water. I don't know what they mean by that, but certainly it does not meet the perpetual conditions on the property, and that is, you know, not something that should be applied. The rest of the year, according to the company, which is Always Green Cape Cod, and I've been speaking with either the manager or the owner, Mike, I believe his name is Mike Stevens, but he said for the rest of the year, they're using what we discussed back in 2023, which was sustain lower nitrogen organic fertilizer. And they apply that throughout the season, I believe monthly, it might be bi-weekly in some situations, and they continue to apply the spot sprayed broadleaf weed sprayer as necessary. So there is no contract, but according to them, that is what they've been doing. And so again, that sort of leads to my wanting the commission to just deal with this enforcement issue so that we can get past that, but in the process, make it clear what is allowed, what isn't. This is a tricky property. This is something that has wetlands on 3 sides of it, including what is now a certified vernal pool. It has been a certified vernal pool for a while. I'm sure before it was certified, it was and acted like a vernal pool. You do have obligate species breeding there. But maximizing enjoyment of property with grass, plantings, things like that on a property with wetlands on 3 sides of it is difficult without violating, you know, some form of local or state wetlands regulations. In this case, we have surely a violation of the perpetual condition forbidding herbicide use and contaminants on the property, as well as a likely contamination issue which would trigger certain portions of KWPR and potentially WPA itself. I think, you know, in my conversations with the landowner, he's eager to make this right, understand what he has to do going forward, and not be in, you know, here, essentially. And from the commission standpoint, I think you would want the same thing. You want an understanding of the landowner for what can and can't be done there and what needs to be done to protect the health of the wetlands around the property.
I have some comments.
Sure.
I spent 20 years talking to children and adults about wetlands, teaching them why we protect them. We have, on many occasions, have people come to in front of us and not agree in their mind that we are talking about saving something that's very precious. Wetlands collect water, they purify it when it goes through the dirt, it becomes our drinking water. That's one of the reasons that it's important to us as people. We also have animals and some plants that can only breed in a wetland. By damaging the wetlands in a vernal pool part of the wetlands, we kill them by putting pollutants in the pool. One of the reasons that lawns especially come before us, many years ago, we all had lawns that had clover in it. Clover makes nitrogen. Clover keeps the green in the lawn. But the pesticide company said, oh, you don't want dandelions, you don't want these things. You know, in my opinion, personal opinion, what's wrong with a couple of dandelions, you know? Every kid grows up learning how to blow the seeds away. But they say now, okay, we've got this broadleaf killer, and you will have a smooth carpet green lawn. And I've lectured about this before. Many times, I've told many, many people about this. Why should you have a smooth green carpet? What does that mean to you, to have a smooth green carpet? It means using pesticides and fertilizers. And little critters that live in the grass get killed, or they be poisoned. If you have birds in the area or other things that are going to eat the bugs on the lawn, they're poisoned by it. All because it's important to some people to have a smooth green lawn. I obviously disagree with that. One of the problems here is also with the applicators. Applicators, and I've spoken to them to make sure I'm right on this, must study wetlands and what the protections are, okay? The fellow who was here before, he didn't say anything about that. I wish we could ask him.
In fairness, Dot, he was not the applicator, that was the landscaper of the property
Landscaper,
who
well, he
interacts
shouldn't,
with.
and
the
landscapers
company.
don't have to take any training, which is another problem. The same with people who cut down trees.
Agreed.
There's no training. You just have to know how to cut it down and not hit yourself. But they do have to learn that. The material safety data sheet, you alluded to this, it says do not apply near wetlands. In fact, it says water. And I'm speaking for everybody who's listening, everybody who has come in here and said, in effect, I don't want to listen to your rules, I'm going to do what I want. There are reasons why we do this, and they're important reasons. And I hope that by saying what I'm saying, that maybe a couple of people will understand and decide that, well, maybe clover would be better. You know, you might even find a four-leaf one out there. So I find it very difficult having people come back and discussing the same problem over and over again, and it's just not right. And they have to understand what the reason is and why we do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a comment on the board?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Sure.
When a person buys a property that's surrounded on three sides by wetlands, it's very hard to say that they haven't come to the nuisance themselves. And it's impossible to reconcile the same kind of private enjoyment of your property when you've come to an area that has regulations and restrictions that run with it. And so I think the balance shifts a little bit in favor of the wetlands in this case. You don't get to come where they are on all sides and then assert that you can't enjoy your property because the wetlands are encroaching around you. So.
Would you like to see something?
Sure. James F. Creed Jr., Creed Law, LLC of Marshfield, representing the property owner. First, I'd like to thank you for accommodating my conflict on July 9th and continuing the hearing till tonight. With that having been said, I apologize to the commission member on Zoom. I was unable to print these from the Registry of Deeds today, so I had to go there physically. I was the Lone Ranger at the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds because everybody does everything electronically now. If I may, I have a handout of those public documents.
Sure.
Thank you. Can I have one for you too? Oh, you're doing that, thank you. Okay.
So what you have before you, the first page is the first page of the order of conditions cited by Agent Pinella, SE 37471. The second page that I have, and it skips, I'm not giving you all the order of conditions, but is specific condition 17, the perpetual restriction that Agent Pinella references. The next document is the certificate of compliance for 37471. And what I've highlighted in purple is the box that wasn't checked, which is ongoing conditions, which reads, the following conditions of the order shall continue. Now, notwithstanding the language that was in the order of conditions at condition 17, in order for that condition to continue, this certification of compliance should have included that condition as an ongoing condition. And the final document is the order of conditions SE 37543. And what I've highlighted in yellow is special condition 2. No herbicides or pesticides shall be used on this site within 25 feet of any wetland resource areas. This condition will remain in force permanently and shall be recorded as such on the certificate of compliance. So we would agree there is a perpetual restriction, but the perpetual restriction is the restriction that's set forth at SE 37573 or 543, rather than the one at 471, which is cited by Agent Pinella. It's clear from the documentation that the intent at that time, because these were going on simultaneously, the SE 37471 was 1999, and the certificate of compliance, I believe, was 2005. The subsequent order of conditions was filed in 2002. So it's clear to me from the recorded documents that the subsequent condition was a superseding condition that replaced the perpetual restriction that was originally included in SE 37471. So while you would agree there's a perpetual restriction, the restriction is the later imposed restriction, not the one cited by Agent Pinella. With that having been said, what we'd like to do is come up with an agreed upon protocol for the use of pesticides and herbicides that are safe and meet your requirements to preserve preserve and protect the vernal pool, as opposed to looking to enforcement.
Yeah.
I have cleared all of this with town council. I was aware of all of these various conditions, and before taking any enforcement action on this, I believe it was actually a few years ago, before reaching out about the previous application issue, I double checked with council. I said, listen, the original orders of conditions mandated no herbicide use and no pollutants, but then when the commission issued the COC, no one checked off the ongoing conditions box, which is not uncommon. It's for sure best practice to make sure you check that off and make sure you have the accompanying perpetual conditions attached to that document so that it gets recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And then with what I believe is the pool orders of conditions, there was that 25-foot one on there. So I ran that by council. I said, listen, you have a situation here where when this property, when the development of the house was permitted, they were not supposed to use any chemicals on the property. Then they did not check that box off under issuance of a COC. And then further, on another orders of conditions for what I believe is the backyard area, they specified 25 feet. And council said, well, surely that is best practice to do that. I do not feel that one supersedes the other. It's likely that both conditions still hold up. So again, I agree more with the second comment that Attorney Creed made, that this is something the commission should be looking for an understanding and agreement on. But saying that one clearly supersedes the other when the property was permitted the development of, I believe, the house and the gardens was permitted with the understanding that no chemicals would be used on that property. When I say no chemicals, it specifically says no herbicides, and the other relevant thing for this conversation would be no pollutants, right? So that's council's view on that. Council felt that there was really no clear-cut issue there of that first perpetual condition going away because they did not check that box, or because an order of conditions that was issued after that for the pool area said that nothing within 25 feet would be applied. It's certainly not best practice. It's something that today we're certainly more mindful of when we issue permits, but it does not mean that that condition goes away. At least that was not council's feel.
May I?
Yes.
Not unsurprisingly, two attorneys disagree. And if two attorneys disagree, what we're looking at is a property owner. So the property owner has these orders of condition. One's perpetual, one says perpetual, but not within 25 feet of the water resource area. It doesn't limit it to the pool area. The language of that subsequent order says water resource areas. So my point is this, that how's the homeowner supposed to discern between the two when you've got two orders that say different things? And what he's told his applicator is to avoid going within 25 feet of those resource areas. If the applicator violated that, we apologize, they've been told not to. We'd rather work with the commission to come up with a protocol and something that works for you and works for the homeowner. But I think an enforcement order, given the two conflicting perpetual restrictions, is a bridge too far.
Is it what?
A bridge
A bridge too far.
I would actually argue that it was up to the homeowner to make sure his applicator was within his order of conditions, was working within compliance of his orders. And if he was confused what was current and what wasn't current, it is up to the homeowner to either come to the conservation department, to make a phone call, to do due diligence before they end up here again. Because we've had a lengthy discussion with this homeowner on what is and what is not allowed. A little, I don't even know the word. We have a perpetual condition for the entire property that was issued in 99, I believe they said it was.
99, yep.
And then the pool, which was right here, project description, in-ground pool, has its own order of conditions, which under here specifies 25 feet. So in my mind, this goes with the pool, the other one goes with the property. If there is confusion under the homeowner, it is his obligation to make sure he is in compliance. We've gone back and forth with this homeowner multitude of times. I can go back years. We had an understanding when we issued these. Somehow that got convoluted into a massive confusion. I don't even know.
Mayor?
You may.
So, I mean, again, I'll reiterate again that in general, going forward, I think an understanding is important. As far as what's already happened, which was a violation, that's up to the commission. I have checked with council. Council feels that the commission is in their right, that that condition was there, and you're right, that it is the homeowner's responsibility to know all of those things. There is the fact that the pool OOCs were not recorded until mandated by the commission recently under enforcement, but you know, it is convoluted. So the commission decides to issue a single-day $300 fine. They have the right to appeal that to a magistrate. The magistrate might overturn it. It happens. That's up to the commission. If the commission wants to decide that there is some convoluted stuff here, and it is a complicated property with a long permitting history, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt that, you know, the homeowner actually didn't know that they weren't supposed to do stuff like that out there. That's fine too. as long as we have an understanding of what's going forward, and there's very clear guidelines for what constitutes a violation and what doesn't, so there's no gray area going forward. At the same rate, if the commission feels there's been a violation, the homeowner's responsible, we want to issue a violation on that, they're more than welcome to do that. My opinion on whether or not that would be upheld by magistrate review, I have zero idea, because we've had some situations in the past where I felt like it was a no-brainer that the magistrate would support the commission, and then they didn't. So I think sometimes it depends on who you get, and sometimes it depends on, what they think about all of these, different things that are brought up. A magistrate might easily think, okay, there's enough confusion there that I could understand a homeowner being confused. I'm gonna wipe the fines away. It is what it is. So my take on that, it doesn't really, I often guide the commission on what I think would be the best success, right? There's been times in the past where I've told the commission, here's what I think is the best move, and the commission didn't take my advice, and there's times where that's been successful and unsuccessful as far as when things have been challenged. So you have a long history on this property. I like to look at everything separately. Here we have a separate issue of contaminants being used that appear to be affecting that vernal pool. It's, in my belief, something that is worthwhile bringing before the commission for enforcement action. Whether or not the commission chooses to take enforcement action in the form of, issuing citation or anything like that is up to you. But there's an obvious need on this property for long-term understanding and agreement. Other portions of the property, that has already happened. Not everybody has to like the way that those things have played out, and I mean the homeowner and members of the commission, but there have been agreements made. From my understanding, there have been agreements mostly followed, and this, in my opinion, is a standalone issue in a way. It is related to general property maintenance issues that we've had there. We've had enforcement discussions about, landscapers blowing all of the leaves out of the landscaped area downslope into the vernal pool. Grass clippings on the slope to the vernal pool. But from what I've seen, the homeowner has been responsive to those. I said, you can't dump grass clippings here. There was a big pile of grass clippings on that slope. They were removed very quickly after that. I said, you can't be blowing stuff into the vernal pool. You have to leave that stuff on the ground in order to be able to allow some of this stuff to get into the ground and not run into the vernal pool. And from everything I have seen, it has stopped. I haven't been on site in a while, but it's part of that progression of trying to get the landscape activities on the property to not violate the wetlands regulations and special conditions. And this is just a part of that process. But I do think the commission should look at this separately from the larger years of back and forth between the landowner and the commission over various wetlands protection issues, and look at this specifically as, application of contaminants and herbicide that's highly toxic to aquatic life in an area where it is likely to run off. And again, if the commission needs a site visit to view that in order to make a more informed decision, I think that's a good decision. I think that's a good thing to do. We can bring a tape out. I know we have the plan of record. We can bring a tape out into the field and measure from the edge of the vernal pool to the edge of the lawn. And you can get a better visual for what it would be like when somebody comes on a ride-on broadcast spreader around that curve, fleeing, pelletized substance from there. So I do think that would be something beneficial for the commission to see the site and see the surrounding area before making a decision on this, including a decision on any long-term agreement. I think it's worth seeing the site.
One of the confounding issues is that this lawn slopes down to the vernal pool, which is going to enhance the runoff. Anything that's soluble is going to eventually end up downhill.
At least the area between the lawn and the pool slopes, I would say a pretty solid grade, but I'm not positive on the lawn itself. The lawn itself may be more flat, but anybody with a broadcast spreader is not keeping that stuff on the lawn. It never happens. In most situations where you have a street abutting a lawn, they're supposed to go around afterwards with the blower or a broom and get the stuff back onto the lawn. In a lot of cases, they don't. It rains, the stuff ends up in storm drains and streams and causes eutrophication there. In this situation, there's nobody cleaning it up from the edge beyond the lawn. They simply go around, spray it, and leave. So I do think it's worth seeing before the commission makes decisions on this. I think it's important to see, you know, the physical location there. If the commission goes to the site and looks around and thinks that I'm crazy, that somebody spraying stuff there with a broadcast spreader is absolutely not going to affect the vernal pool at all, then great. They would agree with the homeowner and what he, you know, thinks that there was nothing wrong there. And they don't have to take any enforcement action on that. They could determine that nothing that was done there technically was a contaminant, you know, but I think it's worthwhile seeing the site.
Is it so that if you say something at one time that this condition is ongoing and will not expire at the end of 3 years, ongoing and not expiring seem to say it's going to go on in perpetuity, and then when you have different projects that happen, does that have to be reiterated legally every single time? It's a legal statement. It's enforceable. Does it have to be reiterated every time a new project, like I'm putting in a pool now, and I still can't put herbicides near my vernal pool, you know?
I would say.
Why would that have to be repeated every single time?
I would
And by the
say-
way, we still mean what we said 3 times ago.
Right. I would say that depends on the lawyer that you talk to. So town council doesn't feel that that is absolutely necessary, but clearly best practice dictates that you do it, because the COC having that point in there gives you the opportunity to make sure that the special conditions, the perpetual conditions are
It's
followed.
like, and by the
So
way,
it's clearly best
remember,
practice, but
right?
you have differences in staff and commission members over time. I don't know if there was the same staff between one and the next and the third, or if they were the same commission members. I don't know, but there is enough variance over time in those things that things are often handled very differently. It's hard for these things to be consistently, you know, completed at the high level of professional service that you guys are used to dealing with from Juliana. So,
And then-
to answer your
and then it gets
question, no,
repeated
I don't
again.
think that
It's
goes
like,
away,
you know.
but, you know, this attorney is going to say at least that it creates enough confusion that the commission would be wrong to enforce based on the earlier standard, because how could the homeowner know for sure when they received conflicting information from, you know, the next 2 documents?
Well, I wouldn't
So,
say it's conflicting. It's just not reiterated.
May I?
I'm sorry, Ms.
Yeah.
My response to you would be, how do you harmonize the first restriction, which precludes any herbicides, pesticides, or de-icers on the entire property?
Yeah.
Okay, that's your position, right? But
I
the
think
second
that's
one, even if you take the position that it only relates to the pool, how do you do that? Because then you can put herbicides and pesticides, except you have to stay 25 feet away from the area. So there's an inherent conflict between those 2 perpetual restrictions. And they can't be justified or harmonized, because if the first one applies, as you want to say, then how do you justify and harmonize the second one? And what's the pool area? How is that defined? I mean, that in and of itself leads to the confusion. And because the certificate of compliance is the vehicle by which you would perpetuate the conditions that are in the 3-year permit, which is the order of conditions, and because that box wasn't checked, it would be my position as the homeowner's attorney, if we were to argue this, which we're not looking to do, that because that box wasn't checked, that perpetual restriction went away and was replaced by the second restriction, which is in either 543, 573,
Yeah, and I
whatever.
disagree with that, and I'd say just because redundancy is nice doesn't mean it's necessary.
That's the law, unfortunately.
I'm also a lawyer, and I could say, just because redundancy is nice does not make it necessary. If something
Well,
does not make something go away.
It's a format, and it's not my format, it's DEP's format. Those are their documents. That's the certificate of compliance that DEP mandates that you use. And it's a simple checking of a box and putting in the perpetual conditions, which wasn't done.
Can I
Now,
ask a clarifying?
Yeah, I actually have something to
Question?
say regarding to the boxes that weren't checked. You can go. I'll hold it.
Just a question that has popped up in my head a few times when reviewing the permit history on this property over and over again. I don't believe that anything on this property has been permitted under the local bylaw and regulations. Every permit that I saw was issued under the WPA only, but KWPR was enacted in, I think, 1997. Do you feel that this property has ever been permitted under the local bylaw? Do you feel that that could be problematic from, I believe earlier tonight, we discussed statute of limitations being short, other than things being put in place that are continually in place, triggering things every single day? Do you picture there being a situation here where nothing was ever permitted here under KWPR? So we're talking about whether one supersedes the next and that this box wasn't checked, but in general, it appears that nothing has been permitted on this property under the local bylaw? Is that, I'm not trying, I'm just asking you for your input on that.
Haven't looked at the issue, so I'm not
Yeah.
prepared to give you an answer on that.
I think that is an interesting wrinkle in this, and I think getting back to the last one from the pool in 2002, where you have no herbicides and pesticides shall be used on this site, what constitutes the site, right?
I
You
would
have,
argue
in some
that it's the
situations, site will
pool.
mean the property, but if this permit was only issued for the pool area, does that mean that the conditions here are only relevant to the pool area? This did not have, the permitting record on this is amazing. This did not have a plan of record other than, I believe, a hand-drawn
Yes,
sketch
I
of a
remember
pool. Would that be considered the area? Site.
I would take it as the area, under this order of conditions, is the area of the construction of an in-ground pool, fiberglass construction, 20 by 40 by 5, 50 feet away from the adjacent wetland resource area. That is the area in question regarding the 25-foot boundary of pesticides.
It's still a weird thing to do.
It is,
No
but
matter
it's-
what, that's something that,
Doesn't happen anymore.
right, we try not to anyways. We try to be way more consistent about these things for this reason, that, part of what we do is education, right? We've heard that several times tonight under enforcement, where people don't know, or they say they don't know. Well, you know now. And
Well, if you
a
don't
lot of
know,
people
get
that you know
clarification.
now know, because you've told them that what happened to you, and people who might be paying attention see these things, and they learn from them, and it attains compliance over the long term. That's ultimately the goal. The goal, and in my tenure here, I don't believe that the commission has been punitive in situations. It's always about gaining compliance so that these problems go away and you don't have long-term detrimental effects to the resource areas. Like I said, very tricky property. The permitting history on this one, in my opinion, is questionable for many reasons, but we have what we have in front of us right now. You want compliance over the long term. I recommend a site visit to see that front area around the vernal pool. Council has weighed in that they feel that the earlier first special condition that was perpetual, the first perpetual condition is still valid. I think the
Can I ask a
property owner
question?
knows now, and I think that we can go forward and get compliance on this and put it away, but I think the commission needs to see the site first.
Can we see what Gladys-
Can I ask a question?
You may.
So, I'd be interested, so, this property has a long history with me in front of, on the board, and it's always the next thing. So, my question to the representative is, what is the owner proposing for a perpetual condition? Has that been in writing? Do we have that yet?
We do not, because we wanted to come here tonight and get the temperature of the board What we're looking for is, some kind of an accommodation so that the homeowner can take care of his lawn, grow it without causing any damage to the vernal pool.
Sure.
And we're open to any suggestion with regard to what we can use, what kind of a product we can use safely and with your blessing, and then we will educate or use a different applicator to make sure that we're not here again on this same issue.
I doubt if you're going to find anything that doesn't contain nitrogen that is going to work, with the possible exception of clover seed, my favorite.
Well, there might be ways to make
And
sure that we...
going into what you're talking about, in perpetuity, et cetera, that vernal pool and the other wetlands are still there. Just because it didn't say in perpetuity, okay, it's been a year or 2 years, I guess I can go pollute the pool now. So I disagree with you altogether.
Well, I didn't say that there was no perpetual restriction. There were two perpetual...
So what? You brought up an argument. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The pool is there. The wetlands are there. Just because some time has gone by, now I can throw stuff in it? No. It should be obvious to somebody who is thinking logically that this is a perpetual thing. It's not going to last 10 years. It's going to last a lifetime of you on the property because the pool is still there and the wetlands are still there.
I understand.
Thank you.
Can I finish my question?
Sorry, didn't realize you weren't done.
Yeah, no problem. So, assuming that we reach some type of agreement on what can and can't be done, what are you proposing as far as making sure that it actually happens?
I would work with your town council, Mr. Tallerman, to come up with a perpetual restriction that we can all agree on and that would be enforceable to avoid the confusion.
And so you're asking us to come up with that formula?
No,
or you're gonna
what I
present
said is
something?
I'd work with your town council. I would propose language to him.
No,
and-
in the first part, like what is allowed there? You're asking us to tell you what's allowed there, or are you gonna come with a proposal?
I'll do it either way. I just need to know, again, as I said, I'm trying to take the temperature of the commission as to whether they're open to that protocol. If that's the case, then we'll come up with a product or products for your review, and you can comment on them. If you have a preferred product, we'll use that. And we'll try and come up with a protocol that satisfies both your concerns and the property owner's needs.
Is that
Ma'am?
is that a road we want to go down? No. Having people work with council rather than the commission?
Pretty sure that's what we're here for. Go ahead, Matt.
I guess to answer Kalina's question, no. I'd work probably with them on that, and then we could have council review it for legal soundness and whatnot. But site visit is my recommendation. I don't think the commission should be making any decisions based on what could or should be used there to best protect the resource areas or to avoid detrimental effects without seeing it. We talk about this a lot in coastal areas lately. When any permit's coming in front of us, we are including conditions that prevent the use of fertilizer that can run off into the bay. When you have even standard resource areas, but especially in resource areas, I think that need a little bit of help against eutrophication affecting more species like vernal pools, the bay, streams, things like that. It's really, we throw things around like organic. Doesn't really matter. If you're putting nitrogen or phosphorus into a wetland resource area, you are likely contributing to eutrophication, algae blooms, low oxygen levels, all of those things. It's very difficult to apply any fertilizer to a lawn area that is adjacent to a wetland resource area, particularly upslope of one, without affecting it. There may be some situations where that may be lessened, like applying liquid organic, you have some companies that use things like compost tea, right, for even agricultural fields, things like that, right? That goes down into the soil when you apply it. It's likely uptaken mostly by plants before the next time it rains, or the next time there's a situation for runoff. But really what we rely on in a lot of cases is natural buffers. And that's why a lot of my conversations with the homeowner over the years have relied on the area between the lawn and the vernal pool. Now, more recently, the homeowner said that area was permitted and was covered under the COC that was issued in 2013. I look back in the aerial imagery, and it appears to be that way. Unfortunately, the way permitting histories are with DEP paperwork, you most of the time can't tell what's been permitted by looking at the recording record if you don't have all of the files, with you. And, in the past, there weren't strong requirements for detailed project narratives. So, I don't think we have a definitive answer to that, but looking at the aerial imagery history, those plants were installed before a COC was issued. So it is pretty easy to make a logical connection that in order to issue a COC on the development of the house and the property, they would have looked at that area, and if they had an issue with that not being permitted, they should not have issued that. Again, I can't speak to what happened there, whether it was legal or not, but it does appear that way. Still, from a protectionary standpoint, if you're applying stuff to the lawn and all you have is landscape plants between there and the vernal pool, that's not ideal. That's part of what I discussed with them earlier on about not only were they blowing all of this stuff down through that landscape bed into the vernal pool, but they were cutting all of the natural vegetation that was trying to grow up and protect the vernal pool so that it didn't encroach on the larger rhododendrons, things like that, the landscape plants. So seeing the site is going to be crucial for the commission to come to any decision on this. I think have the commission see the site, no deliberation, and then the commission, kind of can lay out what they think is reasonable for there that could protect the resource area. It may be nothing. They may not be able to put anything on that lawn. If that's what the commission feels, then that's what they'll issue. I mean, it'll be a back and forth between, their council and us and our council, but ultimately, the commission needs to guide a process where the resource area is protected and the landowner can live within the guidelines of the permits that were issued for the development of the property. Because I believe that's not what we have right now. But I think you have to see the site first.
All right, well, let's schedule that site visit because I have a hard stop here in 4 minutes.
Do you want to ask them about scheduling?
Ask the homeowner or us? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Mr. Casman's pretty much immobile, so
So you're at the
anytime you're
house
available.
anyway. So you're at the house anyway, right? So anytime we come, you'll be there pretty much?
Whatever you want, make it easier on yourselves.
Okay.
So can we do that by email, or do we need to do that right now?
I don't think we have to do it right now. I can email around. I can email the both of
Sure.
you about,
Yeah.
obviously you don't have
I
to.
mean,
be there
unless
at
he's
a
out on a
site visit.
run.
Yeah, well, he is mobile now, so that's good. It's good to see.
Well, not with the food.
Yeah, let me email around
Yep.
and
That
set
way
that
we're
up.
aware.
For now, do you want to kick this down the road a ways and we can deal with that? I don't know, in terms of getting this back in front of the commission for another discussion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue it for 1 month, so, because you're out a bunch anyways.
We have a voice in the audience.
Yeah, we're not ready to close it out quite yet, Buzz, hold on. Marilyn,
Remember, he has a hard stop too.
right. Marilyn would like to address come to the podium, which you can. Sorry, Marilyn.
That's okay. I just have...
Identify yourself.
Oh, Marilyn Cosidoy, abutter, 160 Pembroke Street. One question that I have is what happens in the meantime as far as application of anything?
Right.
Because you're moving this on, you have to set up a site walk, you're pushing this ahead as to the next time you meet.
I can speak to
Matt
that.
identified this problem in April. This is July.
In talking with Ed O'Kane, the landscaper on the property, he had that question months ago, and my answer was I would not apply anything until the commission discusses all of this and comes to an understanding of what is and is not contamination. So I don't know what has continued there. I don't know if they have continued applying the sustain fertilizer, but it was my input to them that best practices would dictate they don't do that until the commission determines that. But that can be up to the commission tonight. You can let them know now whether you think it's acceptable for them to continue applications until this is wrapped up. I would suggest that it's not.
I would say rather strongly, it is not.
I'm not done.
Okay, I'm sorry, Marilyn, go ahead.
I just want to.
You can't address each other, I'm sorry, you have to talk to her through me.
You have to go through the chair.
Yep,
I understand that. If I could get back to the mic, I can respond to this question.
not at the time.
Can we ask Buzz what his deadline is? Because if we need a vote out of
Yeah,
him.
that's why I'm worried about time
3
and
minutes.
quorum. And did you have anything else to say?
I would give it up in order for you to have a
All right.
vote while Buzz is here.
Thank you. I know Matt's not a big fan of me making motions, but I will make a motion for a one-time fine of $300 for the application of the fertilizer, or I'm sorry, I'm so confused on chemicals, but what was used when Matt saw them, I can't remember the date.
Sustain.
Sustain, thank you very much. A one-time fine of $300 for a violation of the COC order of conditions.
It was violation of the original order of
Thank you.
conditions, perpetual condition from, and this was April 28th, 2025. Application of Dimension, which is a high nitrogen fertilizer with a built-in herbicide that is highly toxic to aquatic life.
Thank you. So yeah, that's my motion to, one-time $300 fine. I would like to schedule a site visit via email and continue this 2 weeks or a month. Oh, in the meantime, I would also like no applications done to the lawn.
Wait a minute, you gotta, that's too many motions all in one thing, so let's handle the fine first and then do the rest.
We got a second? Or do you want to modify your motion to just include the fine for now?
Sure.
Do we have a second on that?
Get a second?
I haven't gotten a second.
Okay.
Okay, that motion fails, let's move on.
It didn't get seconded. All right, my second motion would.
Oh, I thought you said you got a
I
second.
did not.
Second.
Okay.
What is this on? Is this on the fine alone, or
This is
this
on
is
the
your
fine.
first
Fine
motion with
alone.
everything?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Dot,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes?
Buzz.
No.
All right, Megan's a yes, so passes 3-1 for the $300 fine. My second motion would be to, I'm sorry, my brain just shorted out on me. No applications till this is continued, till we can come up with either a site visit or, my brain is dying out, sorry. Oh my gosh.
Just schedule the site visit.
What did you say?
You either say no application until the next meeting with the commission, or no application until you have an agreement in place. That would be my recommendation on that. We're going to schedule a site visit. We've already discussed that. You don't need a vote on that. We're going to schedule that by email. What you want is to set whether or not they can apply anything in the meantime. I would suggest that that be no. And if you're continuing it for a month, I would say no application until further input from the commission, which would be on that date of the meeting.
Okay, that was where I was confused. All right, I apologize. My motion is to continue this a month. In the meantime, there is to be no applications made to the lawn. Yeah,
That it?
I believe so.
Second.
My brain is so tired. All right, thank you, Dot. It was seconded by Dot, made by me. I'll take a roll call. Dot?
Yes.
Kalina?
Yes.
Buzz?
Yes.
Megan is a yes. All right, so that passes.
So that's August 27th for the next meeting.
Yes. Now, do we need to make a vote to continue it for a month?
I think we do.
We just did.
Okay.
Do we have to
All right.
give Marilyn return to the podium?
I make a motion to adjourn, because I need to leave.
No, I don't think we can adjourn yet.
Can we?
He needs to leave, but she would be able to come
Yep.
up to finish the meeting,
Yep.
so Buzz can go.
Buzz, you are all set to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. You can come back. All right, we have no updates. We already did the minutes.
We have just one thing that I didn't update the agenda for that Marilyn had sent in. It is the Mass Ready Act is being taken up by the state legislature. It is proposing significant changes to the Wetlands Protection Act. I received some guidance from MSMCP urging its members to provide comments by July 29th. So I'll read through very briefly just some of the issues that they pointed out with this. Obviously, any commissioner should go in and look at. It's very easy to find the changes and what the language of the act online, but I would say what they're looking for is for commissions and conservation departments to provide comment, and we have a very limited time amount to do it. So we sort of need a vote from the commission tonight. If you don't vote on it, I can just provide comment from the Conservation Department, but I think it's probably better if I'm sending it in saying I'm sending this on behalf of the Conservation Commission as voted at this meeting. There are what MSMCP thought were some good changes in terms of streamlining processes or making some filings easier, adding the interest of resilience for climate change to the Wetlands Protection Act, talking about that standards and guidelines will be based on scientific information, but there were some parts that were concerning and aimed at what you could expect, which is the push for housing. The state obviously is pushing very hard to get housing everywhere. So there are sections that include undefined priority housing projects that are sort of inconsistent with, other things like nature-based solutions and ecological restoration. So they're essentially trying to make it easier to permit priority housing projects without defining what that means, which is, I would say, pretty concerning. There's something that transfers review of any linear projects where work is proposed in 3 or more adjacent municipalities, like road and utility projects, out of Conservation Commission jurisdiction and relying solely on DEP to review and issue the permit. Obviously, lack of local oversight is never good, and DEP tends to, in my opinion, be pretty light with some of these reviews. There's another that transfers the appeal process of certain wetlands permitting projects, which would include things like restoration, wetlands resilience, but also priority housing projects, from DEP to Superior Court review. I think that's pretty bad, given that, as light as DEP can be sometimes in their standards on these things, they are subject matter experts in it, and your average Superior Court judge is not. So those things are pretty concerning. They're talking about creating guidelines that would define what priority housing would be. And it's not clear that there's going to be a public process to determine that, which is concerning. And there's a section that would expedite permitting of certain culvert projects that would create a general permit where the local Conservation Commission will be required to issue a permit within 42 days after the filing of a complete NOI. And it states that local wetlands bylaws and ordinance would not apply to these projects. So anytime we're eliminating local bylaw review on projects, that can be problematic. There's no evidence that local bylaws are a major obstacle to culvert replacements, so there's really no need to do that. And if you're exempting one category of project from local bylaw, then it's pretty easy to start overriding it for other things, including housing. So those are the main issues that MSMCP pointed out with this. If the commission has any questions, I can answer any questions, or, you know, I suggest that you also look things up on your own. You could even send a letter from yourself. But I think it would be good for us, whether it's just my department or at the behest of the commission, to issue a letter just detailing some of these things that we feel should be removed from this act before it gets passed.
Could you do, issue a letter authored by you, but issued by the commission?
I think that would be probably the best bet legally. Is, I mean, the commission can vote right tonight just to
Right,
say, hey, we want you to issue a letter saying the commission
right.
supports removing this language from the act before it's passed, and I can write it from that standpoint. So that way, I'm not having to have you all sign the letter before I send it out in 6 days. I can just
Okay.
get
Do we
it
need a
get it
vote on
going.
that?
Right, and that's what Matt had talked
Yeah.
about, if we could vote. Initially, Matt wanted to write a letter. Obviously, they ran out of time. If Matt writes it, we just vote
To support his letter.
support, yeah.
Sure.
And to have him do that letter. And again, all of the points, they sent out a 4 o'clock today. They
I
sent
saw
out-
it, but
did
I
you
didn't
see
get to read it, but I saw it,
Huge
yeah.
summary, the language is right there,
Okay.
and I don't think there's an issue.
No. We'll take a vote if you guys are comfortable taking a vote to support Matt writing a letter on his behalf and our behalf in,
In support of Matt's position on
Yes.
this bill. How's
yes.
that?
There you go. My brain is done. I'm sorry.
I'm trying
Marilyn,
Yes.
Dot,
Yes.
Did you get a second on that?
Was it a,
Who made the motion?
You made
You
the
again?
motion?
You
Did you
made the
get a
motion?
second? Marilyn must have seconded.
Sure.
made by
Yes.
Megan, seconded by Marilyn.
Good.
Marilyn,
Yes.
Dot,
yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Thank you, Kalina. Megan is a yes. So we are in full support of said letter.
Oh, on a good note, the vice chair of the committee reviewing this is Dylan Fernandez, who's our senator.
Oh, he's
Oh,
very
yeah.
good. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
I can say that because I'm an old lady.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to see him tomorrow. Tomorrow is the rally
Oh,
day for
tomorrow's the
the
ra-
rodenticide.
Yes,
What is,
the anti-rodenticide.
Yeah, the anti-rodenticide. They're trying to
Rally.
get the state to take on the statewide ban on eSCARs. So
Where
we-
is-
At the State House.
At the State House. So a couple of local residents who are taking the charge on, Maryland is one of them, but not available tomorrow, is going on this, and I'm just sort of going for support.
Okay.
And we have a meeting with Senator Fernandez and Rep. Lenatra.
Great.
I talked about that with somebody recently, and she said, I don't care. I have mice in my cellar. I'm going to use them anyway.
We use the bucket of death.
Well, I guess my take would be there's other things to use that work better.
Right,
Yeah,
So-
it's safer.
right. All right. We got anything else? Or can
Your
I do
minutes-
these closing? We did the minutes.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. And other than that, I think we're good. All right. Are you good, Matt? All right, the
You want a
next
motion to
meeting.
adjourn?
No,
Oh,
I gotta do my remarks.
Sorry.
The next meeting will be held August 13th, 2025, starting at 6:30 PM. The time is now 8:57. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, that's definitely seconded. All right, we will take a vote. Marilyn?
Yes.
Dot?
Yes.
Kalina?
Yes.
Megan is a yes. Our meeting is adjourned.